Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. It's June 29th, 2026 at about 8:40 in the morning Eastern time. Great to be with all of you today. My name is Bob Lang, and it's time for our Daily Bites. We're going to talk a little bit about the markets and what we can expect in the coming days, and what occurred last week. So let's talk about the futures over here, up about 60 handles on the S&P 500. Nasdaq up about 320. That's a little better than a 1% today so far. Dow Industrials about a little less than 0.5% higher. It looks like if they open up here, we might be at a new all-time high on the Dow Industrials. Russell 2000 slightly down here right now. See volatility index coming down a little bit, tiny bit, down about 18% roughly. I think that we could be looking for more downside in volatility this week as we approach the weekend. More on that in just a minute. What happened last week? Well, if you looked at history and statistics, then you would realize that that segment of the year, that calendar week of the year, has been historically, notoriously, the worst trading week of the year. So that's the bad news. The good news is it's over, right? So we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's usually the worst trading week of the year. I don't know what particular reason why it's that week. Maybe somebody needed to get out of positions before the holiday, and then after the prior holiday. Who knows why? We don't really need to understand the reasons why, but we know there are a million reasons to sell and only one reason to buy. So any excuse is good for anybody wanting to unload some stocks, and certainly they did that last week. Last Tuesday was a big thrashing. I know the markets were pretty volatile all week long. We had large ranges most of the days of last week. Even the last 3 days, we had huge ranges, but we didn't, on a net basis, didn't move too much, right? So that in and of itself causes a lot of anxiety, a lot of angst from people in the market. So there really wasn't much news other than the Micron earnings that came out on Wednesday night that drove markets higher on Thursday, came back down a little bit on Friday. But again, here we are, up nicely so far this morning. We're going to probably, at least at the open, get back some of those losses from Friday. So we'll see what happens. We did see the markets move higher a couple of days last week, and then have sharp drops after the first couple of hours of trading and stay down most of the day. So if you are long some calls or something like that, and you see this gap up this morning, I think it would be a good idea, be very wise if you went ahead and took some profits today, took some money off the table, take some risk down. We do have the end of the month and end of the quarter coming up tomorrow. There are going to be a large series of options expiring tomorrow, mostly index options. So that's going to create a little bit more volatility. I think last week also we had some big institutional selling, rebalancing going on. And of course, the Russell 2000 and even the Nasdaq was due for some rebalancing. That most of those efforts happened on Friday as well. So lots of things to understand and explain why the markets did what they did, but then there are a lot of unknowns there that we don't really quite understand either. But I think, by and large, I think what you need to do is just pay attention to what is happening in the markets, what is going on, and that leads me to the next topic about people talking about the markets and who are you supposed to listen to and who are you supposed to believe. Well, first and foremost, you pay attention to the market. What is the market doing? And you can certainly come up with some conclusions, a thesis, or an assumption on what the market is doing at a certain moment in time, and make a judgment about what you need to do with that market condition. But I've been seeing a lot of talk out there. I don't know whether it's clickbait or something like that. It could be a lot of that going on here. But a lot of people seem to have their own views and opinions, and they're very strong, and they really seem to influence a lot of people into doing the wrong thing, right? I did see a couple of people over the weekend say that that big drop in the SPY on Friday, late in the day, down to like 716 or something like that, was a sign that the markets were going to start crashing, and starting today. Well, of course, that we knew that was true. That was untrue, and that's so far. I mean, that's false, right? But where people come up with this stuff, I have honestly have no idea where they pull this stuff out. But they put it out there and try and convince people to make the wrong moves, make some bad moves. I put stuff out there on Twitter or other social media platforms, on YouTube and so forth. I'm pretty much a straight shooter. I try to really tell the truth and see what's going on, for how I see it, and give you a view. I'm not always right. I'm wrong a lot, but I'm right a lot as well too. So I think you need to be careful who you're listening to. And I'm not saying that you have to listen to me, but I mean, maybe I provide a little bit more levity and a little bit more truthfulness than the next guy does, and you might like what I'm having to say. That's great, but just be careful who you're watching and who you're listening to, because I know that when the markets are not moving as we hope and wish they would, like they didn't last week, we start reaching for guidance, right? We start reaching for people to tell us what to do and tell us what we should do, because and nobody knows the future. Nobody can understand what's going on in the future. Any event could certainly rock the markets to the upside or the downside. We really don't know, but we just have to go with the data and the information that we have at hand in the current period, and then go with that. So I think you got to be very careful who you're listening to, and just pay attention to what the market is doing. I think that is going to serve you guys best down the road. So as I said, tomorrow is the last day of the month, the last day of the quarter. And it's actually the halfway point of 2026, right after tomorrow's close. Wednesday and Thursday, full day of trading. We'll have a jobs report coming out on Thursday morning before the open. We'll talk a little bit about that on the next Daily Bites. That is on the 2nd. Quick shout out, it'll be a happy birthday to my sister-in-law on that day. And that's Kathy. And then Thursday is the last trading day of the week, because markets are going to be closed on Friday in observance of Independence Day holiday. So that Independence Day is going to be on Saturday, and we will be closing on Friday. Another 3-day weekend. I love these. The last 3-day weekend we had was just 2 weeks ago, and the 19th was the Juneteenth, actually a week and a half ago. And so we'll have another 3-day holiday coming up, and the next holiday coming up won't be until and a lot of trading to do this week. I suspect that the action is going to start slowing down when we get towards the end of the week on Wednesday and Thursday. Not a whole heck of a lot on the earnings front this week. We have Nike coming out on Tuesday night after the close. We also have General Mills FactSet coming out early in the morning on Wednesday. And as mentioned, we do have a jobs report. Oh, and also, by the way, new chair of the Federal Reserve, Kevin Warsh, will be talking, I believe, on Tuesday or Wednesday, before the open, around actually right at the open, 9:30 in the morning, talking. I think he's being interviewed or something like that, or giving a speech. But I suspect he won't stray too far from what he had to say at the last Fed meeting. Fed Fund futures still saying that might be 1 or 2 rate hikes coming. I think that if you take a look at on a whole, the Fed Funds futures versus the FOMC committee, I think the Fed Funds futures are much more hawkish than the committee is right now. And so if that adjustment happens sometime soon, I don't know if it's going to be this month, next month, or the following month, who knows? If that adjustment happens and then the Fed Funds futures become less hawkish and much more dovish, that's going to be bullish for markets, right? Because interest rates are going to become much more in line with what the Fed is thinking as well too. So something to keep your eye on. What am I looking at today? Well, Microsoft had a big day on Friday, following through today. You can see that on the chart up there. I'm taking a look at that sometime later on today. Not a whole heck of a lot. I'm looking at some of these memory names as they pull back a little bit and give us a little opportunity to get in some of those. Healthcare names are good. Biotech names are pretty strong. I know home builders are probably going to catch a little bit of drift from potentially the president signing the affordability act, which is going to be sent to him either today or tomorrow from the House of Representatives. So that could give a little bit of a boost to that group. Retailers, kind of a mixed bag right now. I like some of the higher end retailers like Victoria's Secret, VSXY, Williams Sonoma, WSM is also on my radar screen. And take a look at some of these travel names, airlines, and online travel names like Booking or Expedia might be something to take a look at. If they dip, give you a little bit pullback to enter. Take a look at those names. So I think it's going to be it, guys. Have a great day. Trade well, and again, remember something: keep some a lot of cash, take some profits, keep some puts on. They're going to work for you in case the market does give back some. And we did have a couple of gap ups last week that gave back everything and then some within a couple of hours. So be wary of that. It's going to be hot today. It's going to be hotter later in the week. That's why I played that song today. We're going to hit triple digits on Thursday and Friday this week. So keep cool out there if you're in the areas where there's going to be a lot of heat, a lot of humidity. And I'll see you guys all back on Thursday morning. Take care, trade well, and I'll see you then. Bye.